speech, in which a medley of sight, sound, taste, or even mind, a journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. There's a signpost up ahead. Next stop, Jake Stief's. Hi, Longhaired Freaky Dude here, and today I'm going to review the epic Grecian poem, the Iliad of Homer, translated into English by Samuel Butler. Now, whenever you read any book that has been translated from its native language, you are really reading the translator's rendition of whatever it is you are reading. With that said, I'm not really critiquing Homer's Iliad, for if I were, I'd have to have read it in its native language of ancient Greek. With this translation by Samuel Butler, which is included in the great books of the Western world, it's easy to mistakenly judge by its cover. I don't mean the literal cover, I mean the first page. I read the first paragraph, and 3 points which were irksome to me at the time stood out. Thought, this is not going to be a fun version to read. But, lo and behold, I read on and was proven wrong. So, the first thing I noticed was that it was not written in dactylic hexameter, like the original, nor was it even poetic. Nope, just regular old English prose. In other words, it reads like a novel or narrative rather than a poem. I wondered how it could be remotely possible to dare translate Homer unpoetically. I almost put the book down then and there, ready to find another translation. Once I continued reading, however, I realized that Samuel did the epic much justice in this form. It was very easy to understand and follow, and did in fact read like a novel. Now that I look back, I think that if one is to translate a work from its narrative language, they should not attempt to keep it in its original poetic strangleholds. I realize that with these rules in place, the translator is often struggling to find a word which rhymes in the language to which it's being translated, and may sometimes choose one which doesn't quite make sense. Or they may just rearrange the words in an unpractical order to where they fit with another rhyming word, or to fit syllable structure. If this happens, the original author's intentions are severely ruptured, and they will sometimes be thought of as a terrible writer because of their translator's dirty work. When in prose, however, the intentions of the author are only to be mentally jumbled by the interpretation of the translator. So, if you want to read a translation closest to the intentions of the original, read this. If you want to read a poetic version and get the same from it, learn Greek and read the original, please. The next thing I notice is that Samuel translates Greek gods and names to Roman whenever possible. If this isn't possible, he keeps the Greek names. I thought this would be a challenging obstacle to get over, but I was quickly able to convert the Roman names to the Greek names, which I now know much better, on my own after reading a few books or chapters of the Iliad. If it does get a bit challenging, and you really want to read this translation, I suggest purchasing or renting a catalog of Greek and Roman gods, which gives translations. Something similar to this, the internet works just as well. The third and final point is that the book seemed hard as hell to read and understand, but that was just the first paragraph. After I read a few pages, I adapted to Samuel's style, flew right along with his version of the Iliad. From here, there will be a few minimal spoilers. So, what is the Iliad about? To sum it up in one sentence, it's about the rage and revenge of Achilles, son of silver-footed nymph Thetis and King Peleus. Achilles fights with the Greek Achaeans, or Danaans, or Argives, led by King Agamemnon. Achilles was one of their fiercest and most feared fighters. After the Achaeans sack a city and they get their prizes, which are captured women, it turns out the god Apollo wants Agamemnon's prize back, as it is the daughter of one of his priests. Agamemnon is now left without prize and takes Achilles. This makes Achilles angry, so he summons his mother to convince Zeus to have the Achaeans go to war at Troy and get slaughtered until his prize is returned. This leads to the death of many and sets forth a chain of events which turns this epic into a bloody, gory battle for revenge. If you've never read an ancient Greek poem or play before, These characters may seem quite arrogant, mean, barbaric, stubborn. There are many slanders which could fit these guys today. But you must consider the conditions they lived in back then. If you were not honored, or if you were shamed by someone, everyone knew about it, and you'd always be ridiculed. You wouldn't be able to make it anywhere in life until you changed this title. Achilles was shamed when his prize was taken away, which made him so angry. Also, you should know that in Greek writing, people are usually referred to with three forms: their name, their father's name, or patronymic, or mother's name, matronymic, or an epithet, which is a descriptive word added to the name. The last isn't used much in this translation, however, but you may find it a lot in other poetic versions. So, for example, Achilles may refer to as the son of Peleus, the son of Thetis, or swift-footed Achilles. Another thing which should not be too surprising is that because the gods, in particular Zeus, Jove in this version, are in control, the we humans have little to do with the sway of things. In addition, Jove reveals much of his plans as well as the plot of the book early on. While there is some suspense, the frequent use of foreshadowing from the gods eliminates most of it. In the time of ancient Greek, suspense would have been more favored in character development than plot, as to where it seems to be the other way around today. The final thing which you should note, or the final thing which you should be aware of, is that it lists a lot of unvital characters when they arrive or die on the field. This was because, knowing the poem would be read at many events across Greece, Homer wanted to include a little personality from each region to better affect the emotions of those whom it was being read to. You are more moved when a story involves someone from your homeland. This is the reason for the infamous second chapter, which you will read if you read the Iliad. One thing which took me by surprise was the amount of blood, guts, and gore in this book. I love gore in a novel, especially descriptive gore, and this has to be the most descriptive yet, even more than Mr. King, and better yet, the Bible. Here's a few quotes to show you what I mean. Let's see here. Idomeneus meanwhile smote Cinemus in the middle of the belly, and broke the plate of his corslet, wherein his bowels came gushing out as he clenched the earth in the palms of his hands as he fell sprawling forward into the dust. And another. Menelaus hit Pisander as he was coming towards him, on the forehead, just at the rise of his nose. The bones cracked, and his two gore-bedrabbled eyes fell by his feet in the dust. Cool stuff, huh? Well, that's about it. But before I leave you and read an excerpt from the beginning, I'd like to make a few misconceptions clear about the Iliad. First off, Achilles does not die in the Iliad. And second, the Trojan horse is not in the Iliad at all. If you want to read about these events, I'm sorry to break it to you, but the poems with these events no longer exist. They are referenced in later works but do not remain in their original form. You see, the Iliad, along with the Odyssey, were part of something called an epic cycle, which was composed of many poems, not all written by Homer. And those are the only two which have survived. Achilles dies in the lost poem of Aethiopus, and the horse is in the Little Iliad. A lot of common beliefs of Achilles can be found in the work The Achilles by Statius, and the horse can be found in the Aeneid of Virgil, as well as being referenced to in the Odyssey. Well, folks, I guess that's all I have to say about this translation of the Iliad, which I absolutely love. Poetic versions are good too, but this one is different. It's a great book which has by no means withered with age. Please, if you haven't already read some form of this epic, do so, right now. Here, I'll help you out by reading the first few paragraphs for you. Gee, aren't I a swell guy? Alright, so I'll just read the first few paragraphs from the Iliad. See how you like Samuel Butler's translation. I won't be offended if you don't. Sing, O goddess, the anger of Achilles, son of Peleus, that brought countless ills upon the Achaeans. Many a brave soul did it send hurrying down to Hades, and many a hero did it yield a prey to dogs and vultures. For so were the counsels of Jove fulfilled from the day in which the son of Atreus king of men, and great Achilles first fell out with one another. And which of the gods was it that set them on to quarrel? It was the son of Jove and Leto, for he was angry with the king and sent a pestilence upon the host to plague the people, because the son of Atreus had dishonored Saiphrus his priest. Now Saiphrus had come to the ships of the Achaeans to free his daughter, and had brought with him a great ransom. Moreover, he bore in his hand the scepter of Apollo, wreathed with the suppliant's wreath, and he besought the Achaeans, but most of all the two sons of Atreus, who were their chiefs. Sons of Atreus, he cried, and all other Achaeans, may the gods who dwell in Olympus grant you to sack the city of Priam, and to reach your homes in safety. But free my daughter, and accept a ransom for her, in reverence to Apollo, son of Jove. On this, the rest of the Achaeans with one voice were for respecting the priest and taking the ransom that he offered. But not so Agamemnon, who spoke fiercely to him and sent him roughly away. Old man, said he, let me not find you tarrying about our ships, nor yet coming hereafter. Your scepter of the god and your wreath shall profit you nothing. I will not free her. She shall grow old in my house at Argos, far from her own home, busying herself with her loom and visiting my couch. So go, and do not provoke me, or it shall be the worse for you. I think that's all I'll read of this translation for you. And with that, thank you for watching an LZ production and a bibliophile production, and have a most splendid day.